Hey guys, so quick story time before I get into the video for today. One of my friends lives out all the way in Kentucky, which is very, very far from Oklahoma. And obviously because we're so far apart, we can't do like normal things normal friends would do to hang out. So one of the things that we like to do to hang out is watch the same shows. So we'll watch the same episode of the same show and we'll start it at the same time. And then we'll just like text back and forth while we're watching it. So it's kind of like we're watching it together, just without being physically next to each other. Usually we just watch the show, but every once in a while we like to make it a little bit more exciting and we'll like coordinate snacks or dinner or things like that, and we'll like eat the same thing, and it just, I don't know, it just makes it fun. So the show that we've been watching recently is Psych. I've watched it all the way through, Amaris has not, and so we've started at the beginning. I think we're in season 5 now, but we've been watching that all the way through. They talk about food so much in this show, like so much, and every time they mention a food, me and my friend are both like, ooh, tacos, that sounds good, ooh, smoothies, that sounds good. And so we always end up wanting what they have in the show, what they talk about in the show. One of the things that they've mentioned and eaten several times on the show that we've always thought sounded good is churros. So since both of us are done with our school semesters now, we've been wanting to kind of have a bigger psych night where we do the snacks and all that kind of stuff. So we are both going to be making churros. She's going to be making them in Kentucky, so obviously like she's not here making them with me, but she's also going to be making her own churros. So I am going to try and make churros, which I don't think I've ever even eaten a churro, but they just look good and they sound good. So I'm going to try to make them. Actually, I have tried to make them once, and it was one of those like easy churro recipes, and it did not work very well. It was just weird. So I'm gonna try like a legit recipe this time. So I'm excited to try these. I hope you guys are too. So I've got a large saucepan here, and I'm gonna add 1 cup of milk, 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and then a little bit of salt. And I'm just gonna heat this up until my butter is melted and it all comes to a boil. Also, that's almond milk, not dairy milk. I forgot to say that earlier. Kind of defeats the purpose, I guess, to use regular butter and almond milk. I don't ever think about the butter as being a dairy product, but that's what we're going with now. Okay, this is boiling, so I'm gonna turn the heat off and I'm gonna add 1 1/3 cup of flour. This is actually 1 cup of like gluten-free all-purpose flour and then 1/3 cup of almond flour because I ran out of the other. So I'm gonna add that and stir. And it says to stir vigorously. So here's what it looks like. And I'm gonna return that to the heat and continue to stir for another 3 minutes. My hand gets hot up here. This is what it's looking like. So you can see it's kind of sticking together like a dough. But I do still have 1 minute left on my timer, so I'm just gonna continue stirring. It was not a good plan to wear a big thick sweater when I'm working by the stove. Now that I have my dough, I'm gonna go ahead and set this back here and just let that cool for about 3 minutes. While that's cooling, I have 4 eggs and I'm just gonna crack these and beat them just in a separate bowl. Now that that's cooled a little bit, I have my food processor here. And I'm gonna go ahead and add half of this dough into the food processor. Then I'm gonna pour my beaten eggs on top of that and add the rest of the dough. Now I'm just going to blend this until it's nice and smooth and combined. You can see it's kind of started, as I'm mixing it, it started pulling away from the sides and kind of forming one ball of dough. So that means it's ready. So now I'm just gonna let it finish cooling completely. While I'm waiting for my dough to cool, there are a couple things that I'm gonna go ahead and get started on. The first is the cinnamon sugar mixture that I'm gonna roll the churros in after I fried them. So all it is 1/4 cup of white sugar and then 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. And I've just put that in like a pie plate because I want it to be shallow enough to where I can easily roll the churros. Okay, and then I'll just mix that together. The next thing that I'm gonna get ready is my oil. So I just have some vegetable oil, and I'm just gonna fill it up like 2 inches from the bottom of this pot. Now that I have enough oil in here, I'm gonna go ahead and heat it up to 350 degrees. And now we wait. While I'm waiting for the oil, my dough it's still warm, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it in my pastry bag. So I just have a pastry bag fitted with a large like star tip. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the dough in there just so I'm ready to fry as soon as the oil is ready. It's at about 150 right now, so. I ended up adding about half of the dough to the pastry bag. I obviously don't want to overfill, and then I can just add more when I use all of this up. I changed my mind. I have another pastry bag here, so I'm gonna go ahead and I used a different star tip this time. This one's a little bit, the like spikes are smaller. And I'm just gonna fill up a second bag. Also, I have this baking sheet that I just put a towel. Probably would be better to do paper towels, but we don't have any. But I'm gonna put the churros on this after I fried them, and that way some of the excess oil can be kind of absorbed off. Well, we're a little bit over 350, but I'm gonna go ahead and add my first churro. I'm just gonna do them, they're gonna be about 4 or 5 inches long strips, maybe you guys a little bit closer. And I'm just gonna do like 3 at a time because I don't want them to be too crowded. So here we go. Also, I have scissors to chop it off. My hand is shaking. Churro number 1. Oh, now it's hiding. Cool, cool. I don't know if these are supposed to be straight lines, but mine are not, so. All right, and I'm gonna let these cook for about 2 minutes on one side, and then I will flip them to the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and flip these over and let them cook for a couple more minutes. All right, I've cooked these for about 4 minutes total now, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull them out and set them aside. And I'm gonna let them cool for a little bit and let some of that oil dry off before rolling them in the cinnamon sugar. I'm gonna go ahead and roll my first batch into the cinnamon sugar. So that's all that it is I'm just gonna put it in the cinnamon sugar and roll it around. It's not very complicated. Churros. I was trying to make them nice and straight and pretty, but we're just gonna go with it. They'll still taste the same. All right, for the last step, I'm gonna make a chocolate sauce to dip the churros in. Into a small saucepan, I'm gonna put 1 1/4 cup of milk. And then I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. I'm using dark chocolate as per usual. And I'm just gonna heat that up until the chocolate melts. In a separate bowl, I'm gonna add 1/4 cup of almond milk and 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. And I'm just gonna mix those together. All right, now I'm gonna add in my cornstarch mixture. And I'm just gonna let that simmer and thicken until it coats the back of a spoon, which should only take a couple minutes. That looks about good to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this off of the heat and let it cool. And it will, or at least it should, continue to thicken up as it cools down. All right, here are my finished churros. You can kind of see the different shapes of the stars. The other ones are buried under here, but there's what they look like. And then here I have my chocolate sauce, but I have a little one here because I'm gonna double dip and stuff and I don't want to contaminate this one. But I took my little baby one and one of the really weird crooked ones. Those are the ones that I'm gonna try. So I'm excited. I hope these are good. Ooh, they look good. They're nice and soft on the inside. All right. Those are really good. The dough doesn't have any sugar in it, so the only sugar here is from the cinnamon sugar on the outside and the chocolate. But since it's dark chocolate, that's not very sweet either, so it's not like overpoweringly sweet, which I like. I don't like super, super sweet stuff, so these are really good. I'll try it by itself though. And you don't get too much of the cinnamon either, so it's a nice balance of like spice, a little bit of spice and a little bit of sweet, plus chocolate. These are really good. I want to eat more, but I do need to save some for my family and also for the movie TV show night that these are actually intended for. So I'm going to resist. I'll put those over there. But that is my churros. I think they're pretty good, but I actually know what churros are supposed to be like, so I can't really compare, but I think that they're good. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all the things, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.